Awesome. Volvo, thank you so much.
I'm going to squeeze that question in. Okay. Mariette has a really good question about connecting the dots on the things that we've done here today, which, unfortunately you couldn't come, and this whole concept of the answer to how is yes.
Yeah, Ed, thank you for being here virtually. It really is just as good. Yeah, I mean, I love these experiences because this has really been about great questions. And I love how you called it beautiful questions, Ron, because I really do believe questions are really beautiful. The essence of a question is you're going deeper. But how do we connect asking beautiful questions to shifting to more creative business models?
I'm going to give you a meta answer and say that's what it is. Making that connection is what it is. You've hit the essence of it right there. Please don't take it as a non-answer, because it's really not. It really goes to the core of the challenges that I think everyone faces. Here's another question that I often ask myself, because I had a situation today. I had to cancel the hotel in Miami, okay, because I didn't make it there. And I'm going through this process of are they going to charge me the one night, et cetera. And I got on with the customer service for the Marriott hotels, usually quite excellent. I did not experience good listening. The question that I often ask myself in these situations is, when was the last time that I experienced good listening? When has someone really listened well to me? And try to be that person. Try to be the person that people say, wow, he or she really listens well. And I think—
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I want to ask you something, though.
Yeah.
So is good listening a shift to a creative business model?
Yes. And I don't know if Ron talked about this earlier, but one of the things that has really driven home with me and only pierced my brain in the last 6 months. I've been talking about strategy for years, but Ron, when you've been talking about your latest presentation on strategy, where you say strategy and strategic planning are not the same thing, right? Strategy, it can be something as simple as focusing on, being curious rather than providing advice. That's a strategy. It's not a strategic plan, but it's the strategy. And the strategy can be boiled down to something very, very simple. And I think especially small businesses get very hung up. But Ron, talk maybe a little bit about that, because I think that's such an important thing for these guys to embrace.
And that strategy is not a plan. A plan is something that you can control. It's totally predictable. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the following steps, raise money, blah, blah, blah. But a strategy makes you think about, well, how are we going to enter into the marketplace where we want to play, and how are we going to use our strengths to bear to add the most value and capture customer lifetime value. And that's a theory, folks. There's no other way to say it. I mean, Ed, would you agree? I know you like to talk about General Eisenhower as the greatest project manager in the world, right? With D-Day. But D-Day was a theory, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. The famous quote that's attributed to him is planning is essential, plans are worthless. It's the process of going through planning that is what is important, not the actual plan itself.
So I'll ask two questions that Peter Drucker loves to ask, because Drucker had this concept of planned abandonment. He was fascinated why the human body has a natural discharge system, but corporations don't. They'll hold on to projects, products, services that are way past their sell date, and they'll invest in yesterday, which inhibits investments in tomorrow, and all of that. And he would ask CEOs, especially newly minted CEOs, if you weren't in this line of business today, would you enter it now? And if the answer to that is no, what are you going to do about it? And Ed, you have a great story about this. You call it successfully crashing.
Yeah.
And Drucker calls it planned abandonment, but I like your metaphor better because it's more colorful. Explain successful
crash. Yeah, this actually goes back to Chesley Sullenberger. He's the guy who landed the plane in the Hudson River. And there's a great episode of a 60 Minutes, and you can look this up on YouTube. And Katie Couric is interviewing Sullenberger and actually the whole crew. But at one point she says, "Captain Sullenberger, did you pray?" And he's kind of very stoic guy. He said, "No, ma'am. There were 142 people behind me taking care of that. My job was to successfully crash the aircraft."
And Hector, just real quick, I mean, you successfully crashed when you made this transition to subscription. You mentioned you jettisoned your tax practice.
Well, the biggest successful crash I had, well, if we can call it successful, is when we separated tax from bookkeeping. We realized that our tax was very profitable. It was subsidizing the bookkeeping.
Right.
And when I made the decision to get rid of tax, this was on January 1st of 2020. And I said, this is the last year I would deal with tax. Was also the year that I read more tax law that I ever had to read ever to deal with the PPP and the ERC and all this stuff. And because I felt so bad for my customers that were going through everything that we went through together, I said, we'll delay one more year. And it took 3 more years to finally find a buyer. But after realizing that, and I am on a path to also sell the bookkeeping practice at some point, because as you could tell, I'm sort of moving into the education world. I'm not gonna be able to sell a unprofitable bookkeeping practice. So after reading Ron's book and it took me several years, I figured the only way I'm gonna be able to reframe back to my clients, because telling them I have to double or triple your prices because I've been unprofitable because the tax has been subsidizing it all along, it wasn't gonna fly. So I saw this as a perfect opportunity to say, Mr. Customer, we are successfully crashing some of our customers that we're gonna have to phase out because we're gonna take less customers. So Mr. Customer, after we're done choosing our customers, we will call you and let you know if you get invited into a new model. So anyway, the plan included understanding that we will lose some customers in the process. It included that the ones that stay are gonna have a much higher level of expectation because we framed it like that. We said, hey, we're gonna have less customers, we're gonna give you more care, and we're okay with that. We're fine with that. So losing customers was gonna be part of the deal, and I didn't know we were gonna lose some of our better ones. That happened, some were ecstatic about it, some love it, but it was bound to happen. So it was so serendipitous that the subscription business model came, that Ron and Ed did a conference in Chicago in 2018, and they actually did this in a different perspective. I hectorized it a little bit, but they did it in a different perspective, and I realized in that conference that I want my firm to be a Costco. Because the beautiful thing about Costco is that when you see a new brand in Costco, you don't even question it. If it's in Costco, it must be good. Because their purchasing people take really, they take their time and they choose the right products, the best products. So I kind of want, this is part of our vision, we want customers to be members of our firm first before they can even see a price. People think that because they're leads, they have the upper hand. And it should be the other way. Once you're a member, you have the upper hand. So that made me think about how we're gonna put this together. It's not perfect yet, but that's kind of the successful crashing version of that. So thank you, Ed, very much. That was amazing.
No, I was just curious that Costco's membership, the amount of money that they get to membership, is almost a direct one-to-one with their profit.
Yeah. Kind of amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of wild.